And he said, let's stop in and see him at his offices. So we went up to his office in Trump Tower, and within a couple of minutes, Donald was outside of his door, and his hands were all over me. They were on my breasts, they were on my butt, they were on, my hips, up and down.
So this is again CNN, titled Epstein's ex-girlfriend describes alleged incident with Trump. So let's see if we can get into this.
Friends speaking out tonight. Stacey Williams, a former Sports Illustrated model who dated Epstein in the early 90s, has spent time with both Epstein and Donald Trump together. In one disturbing alleged incident, which Williams went public with last year before the presidential election, Williams says Trump groped her in front of Epstein at Trump Tower in 1993. Here's what she told our Sunland Serfati when she first broke her silence.
The second he was in front of me, he pulled me into him, and his hands were just on me and didn't come off. Then the hands started moving, and they were on the side of my breasts, on my hips, back down to my butt, back up, sort of. Then, they were just on me the whole time.
Well, you know what? First off, very sorry to this woman for having to endure this. I hope she gets all the justice that she deserves. But this is very similar, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Doesn't this sound similar to what E. Jean Carroll explained as far as her encounter with Donald Trump in the dressing room? It's funny. It's funny how, different women in different times, in different places that don't know each other, that have no affiliation, have the same descriptions of what was going on and what happened as far as the behavior of Donald Trump in this situation, right? Sounds very fucking similar to what happened to E. Jean Carroll. So let's see if we can continue with this, because again, this is added information. This is just on top, again, another layer to this fucking Jeffrey Epstein cake that is now covering Donald Trump and MAGA. Just another account from another victim in this case. So if you just watch it, please hit the like button. We're finding out more and more by the minute about Donald Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, about the victims that they left behind, and about the cover-up that is now being perpetrated by the United States government to protect Donald Trump. So let's go.
And I froze.
Williams also claimed that Epstein and Trump looked at each other and smiled during the alleged incident, which Williams says she now believes was coordinated and, quote, some kind of weird, twisted game. Trump denied Williams's allegations through his campaign at the time, which said in part, quote, it's obvious this fake story was contrived by Kamala Harris's campaign. And Stacey Williams is out front now to speak out for the first time since the uproar over Trump's handling of the Epstein case. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. As you know, Epstein is dominating the news once again, and his relationship with Trump is under scrutiny. While you were dating Epstein, can you tell us how close these two men were?
They were best friends. I dated Jeffrey for a period of...
I'm sorry. One more time on that one, ma'am. I'm sorry. One more time. They were what?
Epstein, can you tell us how close these two men were?
They were best friends.
They were best friends from a woman who actually dated Jeffrey Epstein. They were best friends. So not only from Jeffrey Epstein on the witness stand, not only from Jeffrey Epstein in many accounts, but also now from several other people giving us the details about this best friendship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
I dated Jeffrey for a period of more or less, I think about 4 or 5 months. And the only friend that he would mention every time we saw each other or had a phone conversation was Donald. And the
only person he would ever mention was Donald Trump. The only person, the world's most prolific pedophile, who ran the world's largest and most wide-ranging child sex trafficking ring, the one person that guy would talk about, the one guy that he would bring up, was Donald J. Trump.
Share a lot of anecdotes. I have plenty of anecdotes. And yeah, they were very close, and they were up to no good.
And how did Epstein talk about Trump? Sort of what was the quality of those anecdotes and how he described him?
Um, well, there was a time when he mentioned that he had to check in on him because he was unwell and very upset about something that had happened. Um, I remember because he was late to pick me up and he was explaining why he was late. They were just, it was such a long time ago, but it was just that was his bro, that was his wingman. It was clearly, I'd hear about Ghilan and I'd hear about Jeffrey, and I met.
That was his wingman, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if it doesn't get any more incriminating than that, then you were the wingman of the world's most prolific pedophile. You were the best friend. You were the only person that guy would speak about. I mean, if that doesn't say something about their relationship and how close they were, I'm not sure. Maybe only pictures and videos can tell us more, really.
Ghilan in his house. She would come wafting in and out the home in New York. So he was clearly just someone that he talked about all the time. And again, I met Jeffrey the second time and we started dating based on the reintroduction that happened at the Plaza Hotel at a Christmas party in 1992 that Donald Trump threw. And they were very, very close.
So let's talk about this incident, alleged incident in 1993, where you say that Trump groped you in front of Epstein. I do want to note that CNN has spoken to 3 friends of yours who confirmed that you told them about this alleged incident over past decades. Can you tell me more about what happened that day and particularly how Trump and Epstein interacted?
Yeah, and before I get into the details of what happened, which, obviously I told you guys and I've shared with multiple outlets, the specifics of the assault that happened, I want to point out that I was polygraphed before I did all this by one of the most renowned examiners in the world. Michael Wolff has hundreds of hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein where Jeffrey confirmed to Michael what the two of them did to me long before I came out and told you all of this. So those are 2 critical data points that you need to have. And now I'll walk you through what happened. I was dating Jeffrey. He was always talking about Donald. It was his bestie and everything. And he was joking about how Donald thought I was hot and Donald thinks I'm this or whatever, wants to talk to you. And he was telling me this as we were taking a walk down Fifth Avenue one day. And he said, let's stop in and see him at his offices. So we went up to his office in Trump Tower. And within a couple of minutes, Donald was outside of his door and his hands were all over me. They were on my breasts, they were on my butt, they were on, my hips, up and down, while the two of them just kept having a normal conversation. I don't remember exactly what was in the conversation. Again, this was, we're talking 90, this is 93 now. It was something about, it was irrelevant. It was like, oh, Stacey's career's on fire. She just did Sports Illustrated again, blah, 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 blah. And they were back and forth, smiling and grinning and carrying on a conversation while Donald ran his hands all over me. And, when that happens in broad daylight in someone's office and an assistant's walking back and forth, you're in shock. If it happens in a dark alleyway, right?
Well, yeah, it goes to show that it's nothing abnormal. It's nothing that they're not used to seeing around the office place, right? I think that's what that goes to show you. I think it goes to show you that the people working in this office have either learned or been trained not to say anything, or have either been conditioned by the disgusting monsters that work in that office, just to look the other way. This is something that just happens, right? Like Donald Trump says, when you're rich and you're powerful, you can pretty much grab women anywhere you want before you get their consent. Right. So again, this was just a little bit of an account of Epstein's ex-girlfriend talking about her and Trump, and when Trump decided to grope her in front of Jeffrey Epstein. Again, more evidence to suggest the cover up by the government right now, and the information that is still to come out from this investigation. So I appreciate her for speaking up. I appreciate her for having the strength to come out with this story, to bring light, to show everybody exactly what these two were up to back in the day. So I appreciate her in her strength.